What is up, everybody? Welcome to Jamestown. I'm James, and today I'm going to tell you guys the story of my first wholesale deal. How I started out with $1,000, lost $800 of it due to earnest money deposits on on-market properties, switched to off-market, and then ended up closing my first deal for almost $10,000 right before I completely ran out of money. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video so you guys can learn from all my failures and all my successes that led to my first wholesale deal. And if you learn anything from this, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you. All right, let's get into it. All right, so let's rewind the clock 7 months. So I just finished my month of nonstop research on wholesaling. I opened an LLC, I opened a bank account, and I put my last $1,000 I had to my name in said bank account. And I started calling agents about on-market properties. Now where I messed up was I put up $800 in earnest money on my first 2 deals I had under contract, and I let the inspection period pass. I was so confident that I was going to be able to find a buyer by the time the contract expired, and I didn't. Not even close. And while that was demoralizing and defeating, and I wanted to give up, the reason I didn't is because I told myself I was never going to go back to working a 9 to 5. I was never going to go back to working for somebody else, so I didn't care how much money I had just wasted and how hard it was going to be, I wasn't going to stop. So I took my last $200 and I got Propstream, I got a dialer, I skip traced a list of a few hundred pre-foreclosure leads, and I started attacking off-market. So after 2 days of cold texting the pre-foreclosure leads using my scripts, I finally found the one. And his name was Cole. So Cole told me that he was going through a divorce, he still had his 3 kids with him, and his house was going to get foreclosed on in the next 30 days, and he just needed to get out of there. So what I decided to do was have him FaceTime me and screen record the FaceTime so I could have the content of his house to show cash buyers later. Now this was a really weird process and kind of, nerve-wracking. I was trying to make sure that I was being sympathetic and also, getting the details I needed on the house. It was the first time I had done something like this with an actual motivated seller. So once we were done FaceTime in his house, we had a little conversation about price, and because he was so motivated and his house was in pretty good shape, I knew this was going to be a good deal. We found an agreement on a price, signed a purchase and sale agreement right then and there together, and that was it. All right, so now that we had a signed purchase and sale agreement, we took the video that we recorded from the FaceTime with the seller and we chopped it up into pictures to use for a flyer. Now, the flyers I make now look like Vincent Van Gogh did them. Actually, my girlfriend does, but when I first started, they were a little rocky. But when you're just starting out and you're doing something new, it's not going to be perfect and it's going to get better as you go. As long as you have the right information and the pictures on there, cash buyers are going to appreciate it. So we took those flyers, posted them in all the Facebook groups, while simultaneously going over to Propstream again and pulling a list of cash buyers. Now if you want to see the exact list of cash buyers I generally use for deals, I have that video for you right here. So we took the list of cash buyers and cold texted them one by one, sending them our flyer, seeing who was interested in the deal. Now while we were gathering all of the cash buyers that may be interested in coming to see the property, we also knew we had to go find a closing attorney or title company to open escrow and send our contracts to. Now this was something that we had no idea how to do. I had never talked to a lawyer. I didn't know what a title company was 3 days ago, but we did a lot more research, called around, finally found the guy that we decided to go with. All right, so now that we found a title company, opened escrow, had about 8 or 9 cash buyers interested in our deal, we went ahead and set up a showing. Now, like I've said in previous videos, you want to have one showing where all the cash buyers come at the same time to breed a sense of competition and save you time. Now, even though that this property was like 2 hours away from where we live, we had about $17 left in our checking account, and this was looking to net us around 10 grand. So we decided to drive over to the property to protect our deal. And thank God that we did, because some little man named Piero tried to snake it out from under us. He went and talked to the seller directly himself. Everybody, I think, could tell that I was new and he thought he could get away with it. Luckily, I built great rapport with Cole because he called me the next morning and said, hey, that Piero guy's a bastard, fuck him, I'm gonna work with you. So it all ended up being okay. So when I was actually at the showing, talking to the other cash buyers and showing people around, needless to say, you're gonna be nervous. You're shaking hands, your palms are sweaty, you don't know what you're talking about in some cases, you're trying to answer questions to the best of your ability and not look stupid, and sometimes you might, and that's okay. As long as you're confident in your numbers and can get your point across, you're gonna be okay. So after the showing was finally done, we ended up with about 3 cash buyers that wanted to make offers. 2 of them were really lowball, but one by our guy Brandon, who gave us a good offer, we ended up signing our contract to him. And that was it. All right, so now that we had the assignment contract in place with a non-refundable $5,000 earnest money deposit so that the buyer can't just back out of the deal and walk away, we were pretty confident that the deal was gonna close. But leading up to closing, there was so many hiccups. You know, the buyer had issues and questions and concerns, and we were going back and forth a little bit. Then the seller had some issues with the close date based around his court dates, because like I said, it was a foreclosure. And the whole time, I'm freaking out. I'm not gonna lie to you, I kept thinking the deal wasn't gonna close. My checking account numbers kept dwindling, and I just needed this money more and more. I wrote 1 or 2 addendums for the deal, and I didn't even know what an addendum was in the beginning. I had to change the close date. I had to change some of the provisions to the deal. And now I could write addendums in my sleep. But when you're just starting out, you just have to play it by ear and keep learning as you go. And I was just so determined to make sure that this deal closed because I didn't have another option. I didn't have a job to turn to. I didn't have somebody to borrow money from. I had bills coming in a few days. It needed to close. So I made sure that it did. The day that it actually ended up closing and they actually wired me the money, I got to see my checking account go from $17 to $9,517. You know, it was one of the best feelings I ever had. I knew that I did it. I knew that wholesaling worked, and I knew that this was gonna be the start of something big. All right, so that's it, guys. The ups and downs of my first wholesale deal. Hopefully you guys learned something that you can use, and you see now that you just have to become comfortable being uncomfortable to get your first wholesale deal. You're not gonna know what to do right away. It's kind of a learn as you go thing, and it's completely normal. So if you have any questions, let me know how you felt going through your first wholesale deal down in the comments. Show me some love, like, subscribe, share with your friends. You're in Jamestown now, baby. Relax, take some notes, and let's make some fucking money.